Welcome to another episode of Twin Cities Leaders. I'm your host, Kevin King, and today I have a special guest, Nell Rueckl. Am I saying your last name correctly, Nell?
Close. We should have gone over that. Rickle.
Rueckl. Rueckl.
Yeah, similar to
Nell
Glick. Yeah, it's a weird. I don't know. That's how my family pronounced it.
Rueckl. Okay. I'm glad I brought that up. Okay.
Like
Uh,
pickle.
Nell Rueckl, who is the owner of Watershed Spa, which is a spa that we all know and love here in the Twin Cities. And so today we're talking about the idea of reset and what it means, why leaders struggle with it, and why it matters. And so now I want to just jump right into this. When you think about um, reset, what does that mean to you?
If I'm gonna be really frank and honest, a reset, I think. Okay, so we live in a Western culture, right? So resetting your mindset really can happen multiple times a day and or a week or within the week. I think that in our culture, we typically see it as like, I'm going to take a break and a vacation and fully unplug and reset. And what I love for people to be able to do is even take moments, an hour or 2 hours out of their day to reset their nervous system, to really maintain um, a more grounded mental outlook. So to me, a reset can be a soundbite of time. It could be 3 hours and unplug or whatever, but as long as it's set with intention and you give yourself a moment to reset,
Mhm.
um, it typically works. Usually, if as long as you give your mind a minute to rest.
So when
Mhm.
you look at your own life, how
Mhm.
does it play out in Nell's world?
Well, Nell's world is sometimes resistant to resetting because I have a big job and I have a job that has a lot of people and a lot of moving parts. And so there's a really easy pathway for me to choose the dopamine hits, which is I went and completed this project. I did this for somebody else in need. I did this for a staff member, a client, you name it, the list is a mile long, where you could choose to do things outside of yourself. But the commitment to myself is typically a morning and evening practice. So, waking up in the morning, remembering that you want to set your day on a path, being conscious of how you want to set your day on a path. And that is how you want to do it, right? Then there's exercise, there's physical, walking, fresh air, getting outside in nature, but also just taking moments for yourself and away from the hustle and bustle. I think that I'm a very firm believer that you can reset yourself in your car, your nervous system in your car, in on a walk, connecting with a friend. There's lots of ways to do it. It's not like you have to go and spend a lot of time and ultimately money doing that. So I try to thread it in my day, but I do frame my day up. Typically, I start my day with an intention and I end my day with, okay, how did it go? What did we learn? How are we proceeding tomorrow? I try to put my day to rest so I actually can rest.
As you were talking, I was thinking about yesterday, for example. I was in this mode of like motion of going, like getting
Yeah.
ready for a podcast and getting ready for the semester. And I was I was ahead of all these things, but I just felt like I needed to do more. I was like, what else should I do? What else should I do? And I was like, you know what? This is just my nervous system making me feel like I should be doing something as opposed to just taking this time to reset and relax. But that was a self conscious act. And then I went for a walk. Then I ended up going to the gym, and I felt better. Like it felt better on the back end than it did when I was trying to figure out more things to do.
100%. You can keep getting the dopamine hits. You can keep getting the dopamine hits, they're important, right, for our mental health, but they're also a little bit like sugar and they can create, I guess the word that's coming my mind is integrity, authenticity, and filling your own cup. So let's say you go do as a leader of any sort, you go do a bunch of tasks, but you haven't done anything for yourself. And maybe you're guiding your staff or your students or whatever, but you haven't done anything for yourself for maybe 2 or 3 days, let's say. That's going to feel different to the people you're guiding if you haven't filled your cup than if you had. You might be tactically doing the exact same things, but the connection and the integrity and the richness of what you're hoping to get out to the world will happen and be more clear if you can put something in your own cup.
That's interesting. We're gonna get to that in a little bit because I know there's some research that it talks about emotional contagion is that when you show up a certain way, um, people pick up on those vibes, and
Mhm.
they pick up on that energy, and like you're saying, if you are showing up where your cup isn't full, like, that's going to people mirror that, people sense that, they feel that energy.
Correct.
So why do you think some leaders, don't take the time, to reset? Like, they may consciously know they should, but they don't.
Well, sometimes there's just a fire burning that you need to deal with. Sometimes I guess if I think about it, it's not all that culturally acceptable yet. I do think we're learning from our millennials, Gen Zers. Is it Gen Y? Gen Y is next, right? You're teaching
Well, Gen Zers.
Gen Zers. Okay.
Yes, Gen
I
Zers,
think
yeah.
we're learning from the youth, if I'm gonna be really honest. They're teaching us that, hey, this is more important, like quality over quantity. I'm 53. We're not trained that way. We were trained to keep working, keep working, keep working, and then the internet came, and it's like everything was accessible to you, so why aren't you producing? And I think it's okay for us to learn and try to shift around, "Okay, well, we're gonna get this much done today, let's celebrate that, and then we need to fill our cup," because that is part of if you look at it like a pie, right? It's part of the quotient.
I agree. I mean, I feel like it's we're in transition. You know what I
Yep,
mean? Between the generations, I'm Gen X as well, and it wasn't even I don't even think I had the vocabulary to even speak about it when I was in my 20s, to even pause and say, "Hey, I need to take care of myself." And I think, just in our society, we're such a go, go, go society. People make videos about, working out and exercising and what they're
yep.
doing and grinding and sleep when you're dead and all those things that we see just in front of us every day. So I want to go back to a little bit into your story and talk about what was the moment when you realized this market, the Twin Cities, needed a space like Watershed.
Well, I think it's interesting that you say that because just as you were talking in the last, where we were talking about our age and how we were, the training wasn't there yet, right? We're coming out of the teachings of the Reagan era and capitalism, the rise of capitalism, and fast paced work life with the internet piled onto that. Um, I knew 20 years ago. I was lucky enough because I was a body worker at a very young age, and I worked at a destination spa in Osceola, Wisconsin, where people were coming to take breaks. I was early on I had a very deep understanding early on around what wellness did, but the other gift I had in that training and working at the Aveda Destination Spa was we had healers from all over the world come, all over. Deepak Chopra, I mean, that's a big name, right? You know that name, but we had people from Australia, people coming in, and they would stay at the spa, but also teach the staff. And what I learned in that time is the Taoist approach to happiness. And it doesn't happen in a separation where you truncate your life and you go away and you come back. The real beauty and healing and balance is in the integration. It's in the integration. It's in the small moments, and I firmly believe this. Small moments. Okay, I wanna recalibrate this moment. Now I'm going forward. Now I'm going forward." And you look back on your week and you notice you made progress. But if you just I mean, don't get me wrong, getting to the beach and taking a week off or 10 days off or even 3 weeks off is still a great disconnect, but integrating that feeling into your daily life is so important. I'm not sure if I answered your question. I might have gone on a tangent, but I really feel like I was early in that, so I would say easily 2000.
You
I
knew
do.
this was gonna be you knew this market needed it, or you
We
knew a
needed it
market needed it.
desperately. There was in my opinion, no absolutely no question because and the reason why we started in Minneapolis first, because I didn't want it to feel like you needed to exit and retreat. I wanted it to feel like this could be part of your daily life, like the gym.
Mm.
You can come, you have access. This is your home. This is a sanctuary. This is a sanctuary on a different level for your own self-care. And then the beauty of it, you're also witnessing others. So it's magnified. That vision was very clear to me many years ago. There was no doubt. I mean, again, I'm a body worker, so I already have experience in the room, but I also practice qigong.
What is that?
So qigong is a traditional it's a martial art, but it's an internal martial art. So like tai chi is a movement,
Okay.
qigong is an internal discipline where you learn to move energy within your body through the meridians and traditional Chinese medicine. And what I learned in doing classes for qigong, one of my teachers said to us, "Okay, you're gonna go home now, and you're gonna try to do that same pose again, and you're gonna try to hold that pose again by yourself, but I promise you, you're not going to be able to hold it as long because you do not have the energy of the group." No one was talking, we were all just doing the same pose in a group, but when you are in a group, you are naturally stronger and, able to get energy from the other people. You don't have to be talking to them.
Just the
It's
energy
sort of
alone.
correct.
So
So I thought, okay, I want to do this bathhouse scenarios where people get in a room and then I can massage them and we're going to take their healing 1,000 times further. And I knew it would work in an urban setting because more people have access. At minimum, we can get them in the pools without having to have maybe the cost of a massage. And we're reaching more people.
so you're 20 so this is you 20 years ago with this ideology. So were there some early challenges that shaped the watershed we know today? Is this kind of what shaped how it your ideology shaped what we know watershed to be?
I think that's a really, really good question and something I'm just starting to kind of peel back. Like, what is Watershed today? What was the original vision? And how does it differ, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Like, where's the gap? There isn't honestly much of a gap. I knew I wanted a space for people to rest. I knew I wanted a space for people to have contrast therapy. Um, and I knew I wanted a space for people to individually heal in private. So we also have treatment rooms. We have 11 treatment rooms. So we have all of that. So we have witness. We have an opportunity for you to heal with witness, not necessarily, witness and connection, like just being around. And then we have also the opportunity to heal in an individual one-on-one, more therapeutic way. So to me, that's a really impactful system that we have. And that was the original vision. I stuck to it kind of like we want to do a salt room. We want to do more things in the dry area. I think the meditation area is really key because I am seeing that drop off in a lot of bathhouses that are opening up now since it's a huge trend now. Um, Resting in the system is important. Um, so yeah, no, it's actually what it was. I mean, and now I'm excited to be able to add a few more things. We're going to add a salt room. We are going to add nourishment, a place for people to rest, a place for people to talk and connect. So
Mhm.
little cafe grab and go. And I think that will just be an extension of what's already really good.
So so this sounds like this isn't something that has evolved into this. This was something that was envisioned and it's playing out as you saw it way back
Mhm.
when.
It really is. I am, stubborn. I think I'm pretty yeah, I think, perseverant is the
Okay.
word. The We had so many issues. Obviously, I had Spot Spa, we had contracted, we had to change this type of business. We had to get people to believe in the vision, which was pretty close to impossible. I had a couple bankers who were really supportive and helpful. Um, Trying to find the way and the money. We bought buildings, sold buildings, went through different relationships where we thought, things were gonna happen. So there were 3 times that I can remember where I had to bench the idea for about a year to year and a half, which is why one of the reasons why it took so long. Well, another reason it took so long is we had to change the business structure in order to prove to the bank that we could succeed.
Okay. How long when did Watershed open in Minneapolis?
3 years ago.
Okay, so this is okay, very recent.
Mhm.
I wanna talk about just the whole watershed experience for those who haven't been there. So it's not just a bathhouse, right? I mean, it's facials, massages, bodywork, sensory, a sensory environment. So how do all those elements factor into like supportive recovery?
Supportive recovery. So if we just define supportive recovery, I mean, I a little bit feel like a broken record, but it's a little bit like anything. Okay, so maybe is what you're asking, like, how did you choose each one of those elements to be
Right,
part of your.
because
Okay,
you offer all some of them only offer 1 or 2 or some are just a bathhouse, but you have
yeah,
a combination of all of these things that impact
yeah.
someone's recovery.
So every single service that we offer, one, I'm not resistant I'm not resistant to adding, the kind of I like to say the more woo-woo or more energetic, healing stuff, and I am very particular about making sure that the people that we do have on board are in their integrity. So every service we have, so for instance, we have the sound vibrational table that you can put the headphones on and it vibrates you. So similar to a sound bath, but you're doing it individually in a moment. That particular table, we had looked at many, has 11 years science-backed data.
Mhm,
So while everybody's really into the thing, I'm gonna be into the thing, and then I'm gonna go deep into, okay, what's the data? Is this I used to say we don't chase stars. We try to stick with what we know works and something we can point back to history,
mhm.
right? So if you think of a bathhouse, the first time the first time I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna open a bathhouse." Well, I still remember the computer I started looking up. It was dial up, you could hear it, like doing the thing, like you do a search and then you had to wait for the information, right? So I'm on the computer and it was a Mac, it was a big Mac, and I'm typing in like, "What is the history of bathhouses? What is this?" Because I'm also naturally very, very aware that I am a white person on stolen land. I somehow naturally got that information a long time ago, although I've learned a lot since then as well. But I knew that I needed to respect every single, like, shiatsu is Japanese, like every single, what's the word, origin of the practice, right? So I'm looking into it and I'm like, "Can I even do this? Can I do this as a white-bodied individual?" So I found out that it's been around. Communal bathing has been around since, I mean, one of the first bathhouses is in Istanbul. I haven't seen a lot of data in Africa, but I know I've found in Mexico, like, they're all over. So the nice thing and that's what I mean is I'll do the research to find out like, okay, how are people healing with this method? How are people choosing, what is this a method that is safe for our culture now? And then does it work? We know it works.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and then now we just get more techie about everything. Like in today, everybody's just, getting more techie. So it's even with the body. Like I see it on the internet and I know you do too, Kevin. It's like we have to count our grams and now we're finding out what time it's best to fall asleep.
Yes. No, when like, when I was there, I think about, like, there's the ecstatic and the nervous system, like, part of the recovery, like, I mean, like, you can
100%.
you can come and get a facial and, microneedle, all those things that make you look good, then there's the restorative part that makes you feel good, and I feel like that's, like, the combination of all those things, like, whether you wanna go in for the restorative experience or for the aesthetic experience or for both, like, it's all designed to help you reset.
100%. And I mean, even like we're launching cryofacial this month with the facials, which is, as you can probably understand, it's like it freezes part of your face and then it has a wand that warms part of your face. So we're even focusing on like, okay, well, this works with Watershed. What we know that cold, I used to call icing poor man's surgery, right? We know that moving the cells in the body it points the body in the proper direction for the body to do what it magically already knows to do. The body is so brilliant. We just have to do things to point it in the right direction in order for it to do internally to heal us, right? So, if we can move cells around to try to create some sort of healing on our skin or cellular turnover naturally without having to peel back, which without having to put the um, basal cell layer in what's the word? Now I'm going to fumble because I'm not an esthetician. But there's a layer in which you can burn the skin then, right? So if you peel
Mhm.
back, it's really dewy and shiny, but we want to make sure we're protecting the dermis. So we just love like everything we do, we point back to some sort of it's safe, it's been tried, we understand that it's going to point to some sort of natural basis of healing. And it's good work. And you'll notice too with skincare, I mean, we know that there's a lot of what are medi spas that are very successful in the area, but they're also the natural way of anti-aging is really getting a lot of attention now, which is great.
Mhm.
'Cause we've been doing it for a while, but it's so nice to see. And I just refuse to put people at risk.
No, I get it. I love that. We were talking about earlier when you were saying that when people reset, they show up differently, and we talked about emotional contagion. So this is what the research says. It says that when leaders engage in pleasurable recovery activities, their teams actually perform better the next day because of emotional contagion, which is saying that leaders' positive effects spills over, and so my question for you is from your perspective, uh, why do leaders show up differently, when they are well?
It's all frequency. I mean, that's where things get weird, right? That's where this whole conversation is gonna go off the rails. But, I mean, I think they're starting to study it now too. Like, when you okay, let's use a high performer. Let's say
Mhm,
you have a hungry team member on your team, and you're the leader of the team, and you aren't doing anything for yourself. We'll start with the low vibration piece. If you're not doing anything for yourself, that person's gonna naturally get frustrated because your tasks are gonna be hollow. There's not gonna be a why behind your tasks. There isn't going to be even an emotional check-in because we all know that when we move our body, our mind works with it. So you're gonna get stale interactions. Stale, hollow, low vibration, whatever. But let's say you have a high performer and you are doing something for yourself too. That high performer is gonna wanna climb that ladder
mhm.
because they're gonna see it and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, this is the kind of energy I wanna be around." Not the energy of stagnant. not we're not being stagnant, we're not sitting around just trying to get what we need done. That's what I think.
No, this is interesting because I think about this from two perspectives. One, I think like when I put my professor hat on, I feel like because I'm in front of people every day, like if I show up drained and tired and people not feeling like I've taken care of myself, like people just see it. It's just a vibe. It's an energy. Like you say, you don't have to say a word. People can just look at you. And then I think about, like, when I go to, my gym class, a warrior sculpt class, and the instructor, the
It's
energy.
pumping you up.
Right. The other people that's in there, and even if I don't wanna be there, don't feel like being there, just that alone brings me up.
Not only that, you're going to see naturally the person who you regularly see in that class, who's showing up regularly, is going to naturally motivate you, subconsciously or other, like whether you notice it or not. It's going to naturally motivate you because you're thinking, wow, look, they're improving. So it becomes outside of yourself. And then there's also a communal element to it, right? Where you're realizing you're not alone.
Mm,
There's other people who are choosing this path too. I mean, imagine if you went to the class and it was just one instructor.
right,
No.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna be like, "What are we doing?" At some point, it's gonna start to feel like, "Does anybody else do this?" And then there's that hierarchy vibe where you want to see other people thriving and succeeding, and I mean, we know I would say it's as contagious as the opposite, right? And so, what I like to try to coach my leadership team is we need to manage up to our high performers. Let's match their energy. Let's use that group effect. So yes, I do. And you probably have more to say about it because you walk into a classroom. If you're hunched over, if you're not feeling well,
You're gonna people are gonna pick up on it, and because I mean, I feel like in a course of a semester, because you're gonna have 28 classes, they're gonna have 28 times to
yeah,
see, and again, you might have a bad day or something, or you might have had a bad week, and that's okay. I mean, we all do have those days, but again, I just feel like it's something that leaders should have in their back pocket to realize that how you show up, not what you say all the time, but how you show up matters, and people are feeding off of that. And which ties back into the importance of self-care, taking care of yourself, resetting your nervous system, all the things that we're talking about.
it 100% does. And I think when you were talking about like the bad days, right? I think the sooner you admit I'm not on today, the sooner your team can stop taking it personally, can figure out how, do they need to pick up for you? And then there becomes a different level of trust too. Like the staff notices there's a level of micro, you want to have vulnerable moments that are appropriate. Like, I can't do this because I have to do that. Like, I can't help you. If that's happening all the time, then there, right? Imagine if we all walked in. My cup is empty every day. I mean, that's actually just really blatant and perfect right there. My cup's empty every day. Well, they're all like, I'm gonna find. Well, this is one thing I just actually talked to my team about this last week. If your cup's empty every day, that high performer is gonna recognize that gap, and they're gonna find a place to fill their cup within the team.
Mm.
And then leadership's gonna wonder, you know what I mean? Like, as a leader, you're gonna wonder why your team's not working for you. Well, they're not
Circular
finding
imbalance.
anywhere to plug in. Yeah. So then they're gonna be looking for other support because everybody wants to look, feel better in their life, or at least that's what we would hope, right?
Mhm, mhm. So, there's this thing called a guilt barrier where people feel like they shouldn't take time for themselves, or they don't have time for themselves, or people who see people who are taking care of themselves and say, "Oh, that must be nice to go to a spa and hang out for a half a day." And so they look at it as like it's a luxury, and so I guess, like, what do you say to people who feel like they don't deserve it because of that? They don't deserve that reset.
Well, one, I if I was talking to someone right now, I would say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." If someone were to actually admit that to me, I my empathy would activate immediately because they're not feeling their worth. They're not feeling somehow their teachings were the opposite. You don't have time. You don't get to. This space isn't here for you. So that activates my empathy. And then I would say, I mean, I say this all the time. When we heal ourselves, we heal our community. So we need you to do this. I might dip into my coach Nell moment, which happens kind of a lot. It's a good thing I'm not a therapist because I'm always like trying to coach people, right? Or tell them, keep them on there. But I might go dip into that. Like, this is important. In fact, I just talked to a friend the other day who is a leader and was really strung out about what's happening in Minneapolis right now. And she does have a membership at Watershed. She happens to be a friend of mine too. But I said, "How many times have you used your membership?" "Well, I've only been once and I can't." And I said, "No, my staff will do everything they can to get you in, even if you haven't planned in advance, because when you're a member, you have that access and you need to get in." And she's been in twice since then. And she said, "You completely reset me." And I didn't. She had to listen and do the thing, right? She had to take action herself. But when people feel that way, that's old training. That's old training. And I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's forever old training. I think it's internet times and the rise of capitalism.
Yeah. Because it and whether people say it, like, as a side remark or anything, but they associate it with luxury. They it's just they don't perceive it as reset and filling your cup and taking care of yourself. They look at it as it's a vacation, you know what I mean? I just think the way some people describe it comes off that way.
The number I'm getting in my head, and this is not data backed at all, so I'm just chatting here. The number I'm getting in my head that I actually think that adults think that that they're guilt-free, they can guilt-free take care of themselves is like 20% of grown people. 25% right now, which I think is higher than it was 5 to 10 years ago. So I think it's growing, but what I'm saying is we have 75% of the adult population that I think we could still work on around omitting that guilt and actually putting their self-care. And I'll say I'm gonna recognize a problem. I do think that in the Western culture, we think what that means is I have to go rent a cabin, I have to shut everybody out, I have to not have any internet, I've gotta go do that thing, and what I coach people all the time on is, no, you don't. There's a tree right out there that you can kinda take a look at. There's a river you can walk by. There is access all over the city where you don't have to spend any money. You can go to the sky pesher at the Walker and look at the sky and see beauty. That will reset your nervous system. That will give you something.
I love that you say that because I know there's probably someone out there listening that says, "Well, what if I can't afford it?" Or what, I don't have the resources and all those things. I think you just gave the answer to what you can do, you know,
Mhm.
with if you don't have the resources or
Yep.
time. There's a tree outside. There's a walking, but all those things you just mentioned, I feel like is great advice.
Well, the interesting science behind, pine trees, I don't know, I learned this actually, I was at an event. Anyway, this really cool gal that lives in New York City does, uh, nature walks in Central Park. And the interesting thing that I didn't even know of, considering I live in Minnesota, I'm a little embarrassed I didn't know this until a couple years ago. When you walk in a pine forest, pine pollen naturally helps reset your nervous system. The pollen from the pine tree is going to naturally reset your nervous system. It's free. And we live in Minnesota. So I will say, like, here, we have a lot of resources for feeling safe outside, making sure you have access to safe parks, making sure all of that. I have compassion for that too, but it's here.
No, I agree, and I just because we're all sensitive to that. Like we're sensitive to how people feel how they feel, whether they feel like they don't have the time or the resource, whatever it is. But but again, the goal is to reset. The goal is to fill your cup. And the more ways we have to do it, or the more ways people are educated on how to do it, it's going to make everyone. It makes it accessible to everyone, I should say.
Right. And it's all about integration.
Hmm.
It's all about integration. It's not, I have to re-architect my whole life. It's like start small. Start small. Come and do a little bit. And that's what I said to my friend who said she didn't have time to come to Watershed. I was like, I'm guessing you can get through there in an hour and 15 minutes and feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And she did.
Hmm.
So, when you're going on a regular basis and you're utilizing the service on a regular basis, if I'm talking about Watershed, there's gonna be days where you need the full time, and there's gonna be days where you just need to get in the pool, you need to reset, you do a few things, and then you're out. You don't wanna overstress your day just to get your Watershed in either. Like, we're not here trying to stress people out for that. We're trying to do both, right? Like, that's the other thing is I think people are like, "I gotta get to my workout," and then suddenly you're chippy at work.
Right.
It's all about balance and making sure that if, okay, fine, this work deadline's happening, I'm just gonna get a 20-minute workout in today, but that's my commitment.
What is one practice you think every leader or some leaders or leaders should adapt? Like there's one thing.
You mean like an actual wellness practice that
Mhm.
that
Like,
resets?
is it close your door for 15 minutes a day and just reset? Is it going for a walk, get a
Well,
massage?
I would say every leader needs to be introspective about what fills their cup. So you mentioned, what is it? Warrior, you go to a
Warrior
warrior.
skull. Yes.
Okay, which is not something I'm picking, right? So I'm not picking warrior sculpt, but, you immediately said warrior sculpt, and I'm like, I would feel probably really strong when I left there. But it's figuring out what it is resets you, and sometimes it's not the same for a whole year. So, is it a walk outside? Am I committing to a walk outside? I commit to a qigong practice every morning, rain or shine. It's very basic and easy. I fill my whole cells with a vision of literal sunshine. And that's what I try to do, and I reset and I say hello to myself every morning, right? And then at night, I try to listen to what I may or may not have learned that day.
Mhm.
Try to write that down and figure it out and have gratitude for the lessons, gratitude for tomorrow. Now, everything else that you do within your wellness practice, I mean, it can range anywhere from a walk with a friend. I mean, I recommend that people start thinking out of the box as far as like, I'm going to meet my friend for happy hour. I think it's okay for us to recommend a walk instead of a happy hour or something other than just dining and taking in alcohol. I'm not going to say you shouldn't meet a friend for happy hour and those laughs and whatever you're doing isn't going to fill your cup because it will.
Mhm.
But on a regular basis and a sustainable basis, you can do lots of different things. Figure out what those are, check it off the list, make it simple.
When I listen to you, I think about. I mean, because we're all leaders in our own way. People are
Yeah.
leaders in the home, and taking care of family and
Yes.
kids, and you have your traditional workplace lead. But again, leadership is available to everyone. But I feel like this is all applicable to everyone. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It
you do
might
it.
just be something as simple as I'm gonna make a nice dinner tonight and light a candle.
Exactly. I'm gonna choose to actually sit down and eat my meal at the table instead of in front of the TV. Or, I mean, it can be like you said, it's available to anyone. But it's all about intention. I mean, that's the nugget of it. Any interaction that you have, that you choose that is for your own personal betterment will reset you and create trust within your body because you're choosing it and you're intentional about it.
I'm starting to learn be more mindful of, like, how you feel, you know what I mean? Like, what is your body telling you? And I
Yeah.
oftentimes, I think we disregard how we feel, or but what our body is telling us that we need. And I don't mean that, like, hey, just because you don't feel like going for a walk, don't go. But I feel like, you have to be in touch with what's happening inside of you to navigate it the best way. You know what I mean? And sometimes that might be, hey, I don't feel like going for a walk, but I'm going to. Or, hey, you know what? I need to just sit down for a minute and just relax.
Or I'm gonna stretch, or I'm going to choose an indoor activity. Like, it's icy out there right now, right? In Minnesota, it's icy. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of falling down. Like, just me personally, like, I'm low risk that way. I've been a body worker forever. My hands mean a lot to me. I'm no longer a body where I'm right now, I'm not anyway, but I'm no longer a body worker, but I still have that mindset of, like, I need to take care of my body. Like, that's a commitment to my practice right there. So I'm not gonna take a risk by going on a walk when it's super icy, right? But I think that there are ways, like, you wanna have almost a smattering of things that you can pick from. So if your gut instinct, is that, "You know what? A walk's not right for me today, but there's something else on my list, on my menu I can pick from." And again, that's how I feel. I'm just gonna bring it right back to Watershed, and people ask me all the time, How long should I be in the cold plunge? What is my circuit? What should I do?" And I am constantly reminding people that every time they soak, their body's gonna feel different and call for something else. And it's true. I mean, I've checked in with people that are regulars. Do you do the same thing every time? And some people do, but it's the time frame might be different, the length of soak, how they felt, how it worked with the music, and listening to all that and knowing that there's teaching within that too. And so if you decide I'm not gonna walk today, there's a teaching there. Like, there's something else for you.
As we wrap it up here, I feel like I can have an answer to some of these questions, but I want you to answer it. What's one thing you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
Well, I think it's just a lifelong passion of mine to get people to understand that there's so much power in listening to your body and keeping your life simple. And in the Western culture, we are pushed to be outside of ourselves. And it is safe to be inside yourself. And you will have better interactions if you do continue to pay attention to yourself. That would be my takeaway.
This segment is sponsored by Kowalski's Markets, where it's all about the joy of good food. I want to ask all my guests at the end of each episode, what is your Twin Cities hidden gem? And that can be an event, a place, or an experience that you think more people should know about.
I'm gonna give you one because of the moment, and again, you may use this at a different time. The Himalayan restaurant on East Lake is such a hidden gem. The food is so good, the servers are amazing, the food is fresh. I believe it's family owned. I've been there a handful of times. I have some friends that live in that area too. So that is a business. But I already mentioned in our talk earlier that the Sky Pesher at the Walker, if you haven't, it sits in the field of the Walker, and you walk into it and you can see the sky, and there's like a little heated bench. That's a really special, like, outdoor, in my opinion, art and wellness moment. That's also wonderful. Those are my 2 hidden gems.
And it's the sky. What is the other word? Sky.
It's called Sky Pesher. James Turrell designed it. He's an artist that does a lot of, I mean, in fact, I think he just designed a spa. I feel like he did. So James Turrell is really into kind of bending light and creating an experience through, like, really striking the way the walls are at the Sky Pesher are kind of they're angled, the benches are heated, but then he has the sky framed up, so every time you go, again, it's going to be different.
Got it.
So, it can rain in there or snow.
And then I know
Yeah,
we were talking, offline before we got started here. You are opening a new watershed, right? A second location. I
yep,
know you're renovating the existing one and
correct.
opening a new one.
That's correct. Yes, we are opening a new location in the North Loop, so hammers are swinging now, and that's exciting, and that location will be really fun too. That'll have we're gonna have a similar bathhouse vibe to what's going on right now at Watershed, and we will also have some private soaking options that are gonna be really fun to roll out.
Well, no, I am so thankful for your time and your knowledge. I
Oh,
really
thanks, Kevin.
enjoyed this conversation. I learn a lot. Like it's just fascinating for me to kind of get in the behind the scenes and even learn from myself. So I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you too, Kevin. I think what you're doing is great. I think highlighting some of these things is really cool, and the city needs it. We all need we're inundated with information, so the more quality information we can have about our friends and neighbors is great, so I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. And I will see you all next week on the next episode of Twin Cities Leaders. See you next time.